So today we are going to do an alumni spotlight. We have Chef Miguel Valdez, one of our alumni, batch 2008.
And we're doing today one of our signature dishes here in Saffron Catering. It's our roast beef with garlic pommes puree and sauteed vegetables.
Let's do it.
First of all, we're gonna be doing our pommes puree. The first step in doing our pommes puree is for us to roast our garlic. The garlic will be mixed with our pommes puree. Chef, cover our garlic in aluminum foil, and we're gonna be placing this inside the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. So for our next procedure, we're gonna be boiling our potatoes. We have here around 200 grams of potatoes. It's good for 1 serving or 2 servings actually, Chef Byron. We're not gonna be peeling the skin because we don't want any moisture going into our potatoes. So we're gonna be leaving the skin on and then boiling it until for tender. But Chef Byron, if you can do the honors, you can just prick our potatoes for evenly cooking.
Right, all over.
Yes, Chef. Thank you. We're gonna be bringing our water into a boil first before putting our potatoes, and from there cooking it until for tender. So once our water is boiling, we're gonna be putting our potatoes, and then we're gonna be seasoning our water with a little bit of salt just for taste. Another component of our dish is our herb oil. So this will give an earthy flavor to our dish and also give the green color around the pommes puree. So what we have is some parsley, some coriander, and some basil. Now, when you're doing a herb oil, for example, if you're in the kitchen or you're working in a restaurant, the best thing that you can do is you can also use the stems, Chef. The stems of, let's say, coriander stems or parsley stems. And then instead of throwing it out, you can make use of it and make a good herb oil using it. So what we have here is some coriander, Chef. With our recipe, you can use a little bit of the stems and a little bit of the leaves. So coriander natin, Chef, we're gonna be removing the stems, but we're not gonna be throwing this out. Magagalit ang mga Thai counterparts natin because this one has a lot of flavor in it. So for our next prep, we're gonna be doing our sauteed vegetables, Chef. We're gonna be using carrots, shimeji mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, some cherry tomatoes, and onions. This is the vegetables that we're using for our sauteed vegetables. So later, we're gonna be also adding some garlic into it just for flavor. So peel natin to. And then just for aesthetic purposes, we're gonna be cutting this lengthwise and then with a slight angle. And with your peeler, you can peel off just to make it round. So this is the size that you want. Let's trim a little bit more. So the trimmings, again, you can use for your stocks.
Okay, Chef, mag-CR muna ako sandali.
Sige lang, Chef. So for our cherry tomatoes, you just have to cut this in half. So I'm just gonna be cutting this lengthwise and then sauteing this later again. Next is our shiitake mushrooms. Around 2 pieces is fine. We're just gonna be removing the stem of our shiitake. Again, the stem you can also use for stocks. Also our shimeji mushrooms. Just gonna get a little bit brown shimeji mushrooms and just cut it with same sizes. Then you have also your onion. So what we want to do is just cut this in half. Later on, we're gonna be rouléing this. We're just gonna be sauteing this to get that brown color. Our next step is for us to roast our beef. This beef is a cut from the belly. Pag sinabi nating beef belly, para siyang liempo cut ng ating mga baboy. So this one has been sous vide already for 12 hours at around 127 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just placing this into a bowl and roasting it inside the oven for around 5 minutes to 15 minutes just to get that color. Okay, for our next procedure, we're gonna be adding our herbs. This one is a mix of our basil, parsley, and coriander. So we're just gonna be blanching this in a little bit of water to just get the color green out of our herbs. So let's put our water into a simmer first and then blanching it a little bit later. So once your water is simmering, just add your mixed greens. So you can see the color of your herbs going into dark green. So once that's done, just a matter of seconds and done. We're gonna be straining this. After blanching our herbs, so you see the dark green color on it, we're just gonna be putting it in our napkins and just squeezing out all the remaining liquid before we blend this up with some oil. So we don't want oil and water mixing together in our mixture. Once you've removed the moisture, you can add it into your blender. A neutral oil. So this one can be canola oil. If you want a much more healthy oil, you can also use your olive oil. But I suggest a neutral flavored oil. And that's it. Blender na natin. This is the end product of our herb oil. So our next step is to get our blended herb oil and just strain it. So for our next step, we're gonna be blanching our carrots. We're gonna bring this into a simmer, blanching our carrots around 5 minutes until half cook. And then later on, we're gonna be sauteing it with a little bit of butter and some garlic as well. So this is our roasted garlic. So as you can see, it's already soft and tender. So what you want to do is just cut the top and then squeeze out the garlic into your board. Just be careful, it may be hot. For our onions, we want to brulee our onions by adding a little bit oil into our pan. So we're on medium heat and just place your onions in your pan. So once you get this golden brown color, you can set this aside already. In the same pan, you can add all of your mushrooms, tomatoes, and shimeji. Then you can add a little bit of butter into your pan. Then adding a little bit of the garlic puree. We already have our boiled potatoes. I've peeled it already. So mamash lang natin yung mashed potatoes natin. Actually, by now, we can already add our roasted garlic. For our pom puree with roasted garlic, I'm heating up a little bit of butter and adding my mashed potatoes into the pan, incorporating the butter into my mash po. Then we're gonna be seasoning this with a little bit of salt and adding a little bit of our cream. So by this time, we want it in low heat until we get the right consistency. So once your mashed potatoes are done, you can just pass this through a strainer just to remove the lumps. Then you have your pom puree with roasted garlic. Now it's time for us to plate. So let's slice first our beef with our plate. Just get dollop of our pom puree. Get our roast beef. Then we can add our sauteed vegetables, mushroom, our shimeji. Then you have your bruleed onions. Then you can add our homemade demi-glace sauce. And then the herb oil, some garnish of dill. Alright, so we're done with our plating. Where's Chef Byron?
Ano na ba next nating gagawin?
Tikiman time na tayo, Chef. Okay?
Oh, tapos na.
Done na tayo, Chef. Tikman na natin to.
Muna natin.
Ayos yan, Chef. Chef, di ka nakapagsalita.
Ayos, sobrang sarap. Sobrang lambot.
Okay, syempre, Chef, ang highlight natin is our roast beef, no? This is a recipe that I've been using for almost 12 years already. So this is one of our best sellers in our catering, Saffron Catering. Syempre, we want to highlight also our sauce, na our secret recipe of our demi-glace sauce that is really rich and creamy.
Oh, sobrang sarap niya, no? The beef, very tender. Quality talaga yung beef na ginamit. Contact Saffron Catering for your next event.